ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹੋਸਟ ਰੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਟੀਵੀ 84 ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਊਅਰਸ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਕੇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਕੇਸ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਕੇਸ ਵਾਂਗ ਹੀ ਸਿਮਿਲਰ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਭਾਰਤ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਨ ਬਚਾ ਕੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਰਨ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ। ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਸ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੀਗਲ ਪਰਪਸਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਇਹ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਤੇ ਬੋਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਟੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਜੱਜ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬਾਦਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਨੀਤੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਖੁਲਾਸਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਥਿਆਰਬੰਦ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਾਨ ਲੋਇਟ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ। So viewers, today about Mr. Singh's case, we will talk to his attorney, John Lawit, who's on the line with us right now from Texas. Hello, Mr. John Lawit. Welcome to TV 84 News.
Good evening, Reed.
Good evening, Mr. John. So we are here to talk to you about Mr. Singh's case. I know it was a kind of impossible case because I read the whole case too. He gets sent to detention center. Unluckily, he gets a judge who denies 90% of the asylum cases. But then you come into the picture. Let us know a little bit about the background about this case and how did you guys win this case and any trouble that you guys faced during this case. Give us all the detail.
Well, as much as I'd like to tell you that it was all me, it wasn't. It's a team effort in an asylum case. And of course, the most important part of the team is the person that's applying for asylum. Because no matter how good I am, no matter how good my staff is, no matter how much preparation, he has to carry the weight. And I had an exceptional client. He was smart. He was involved in the Mon party at a high enough level that he was able to explain the complexity of the party structure. He was able to be very precise with dates and events that had occurred to him while he was working for the Mon party. He was very clear about injuries that he had suffered and medical clinics that he had gone to, and that the hospitals wouldn't treat him because they had to have a police certificate before they would treat him. So he had to go to medical clinics in the countryside. He was very sincere and convincing. And because he was able to think on his feet, that's why he was rising within the party before he came over, because I'm sure they recognized the same thing I was seeing as a client. So in a very big way, he was a perfect client to bring to take to an asylum case. So that helped a lot, because if the judge were to rule that he was not credible, that is, that his story didn't make sense or he couldn't believe it, then his whole case would be lost. So he passed the test. Now, the other part of it that worked very, very well was the fact that we had done, because of the other 20 cases we have a pretty vast library of documentation concerning the political situation and the treatment between the various political parties in the Punjab and who's attacking whom lately. And that information is also very helpful. We've also done research and discovered many sources of documentation that early on we didn't know about. There's wonderful documentation concerning the abuse of Sikhs in the Punjab at the hands of the police that has been prepared by the Canadians. It's excellent work. And so we were able to gather all those resources, and that's very important too, because you should assume the judge is going to read all of the secondary stuff. And so we wanted to make sure the resources were very fresh and that they were very clear about the problem that my client had faced. Now, the other piece of the puzzle was the expert witness. There was an expert witness, and her name is Cynthia Mahmood, and she's a professor. And her whole entire life has been spent studying violence in Pakistan and India, in northern India and Pakistan. And she is world renowned. She testifies as an expert on a regular basis about conditions in the Punjab and is very familiar with patterns of behavior between the Bidal party and the Maan party and the likelihood that my client's statements were true and believable.
Yeah.
And she also could explain why my client's statements were true and believable. And she could talk directly to the judge and explain, through people she's interviewed, people she knows, testimony she's given in other cases, travels that she herself had in India. She's a very persuasive witness.
Okay.
And she hit a home run. There's no question about it. Because the judge, an expert witness is there for the judge.
True.
He's there, or she is there to advise the judge about the area of their expertise so the judge can then make an informed decision.
Okay.
So judges like expert witnesses because it allows them to ask questions that they can't ask the client.
That's
because
right.
the client may not know the answer of the bigger picture of what's going on around him in the Punjab, for example.
Okay.
And so she did excellent. It was excellent.
Okay.
From my part, by the time we were in, my part was started 2 days before the trial.
Okay.
We had already gone down about 2 weeks earlier, and Natalia Daranku, my partner, went down and did a preliminary interview and got his story straight. The story is the key to the whole thing.
That's true.
And we wanted to make sure that all the facts were straight, that it was exactly as he wanted it to be, and that it would flow very well. And then Natalia and I flew down 2 days before the hearing, and we prepped our client. And we had the good fortune of, this is another piece of the puzzle, of a young attorney who's fluent in Punjabi.
Okay.
And he was there, and he was at the detention center, and he had his own asylum cases he was doing. Okay. But he wanted to be involved in my case because he had been following the cases while I was in law school in Toronto about what I was doing with the other detainees. Mm-hmm. And so he volunteered his time to interpret. Well, now I can talk to my client as a lawyer.
Okay.
With most interpreters, they're not sophisticated in legal talk. Okay. They're good interpreters, but legalese, legal concepts is not their forte. It's more like a photographic sort of translation of exactly the words. But Deepak, the other attorney, was able to explain everything in Punjabi, and that helped because that really made my client have a real clear understanding of what was about to happen. Okay. And so all of that, the universe all came together at the trial, and my part at the trial, I examined my client for about an hour and a half and went through the entire story step by step, and he didn't miss a beat. Everything matched everything he had been saying. Okay. So he was very confident in his presentation. And there was absolutely nothing negative in the case. The government attorney complained that there was no reason why my client couldn't have gotten affidavits from his parents about what had happened, and there was no reason why my client couldn't have gotten his medical records from India. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, my client is in a cell.
That's true.
And he's saying, why can't your client get all these documents? And I explained to the judge that my every attempt to get more time to get those documents and get continuances was denied. Okay. So you deny me the ability to get the evidence that I know exists. How can you blame my client? I asked for time to get it, and the court refused. Okay. That was a different judge that had the case before the judge that heard the trial. Okay. But that worked. And I told the judge that I agreed with the government attorney. It would have been better if we had those documents. It just would have been nice if the court would have given me time. Okay. But they didn't. So that was the trial itself. Now, we won. He granted the asylum. Okay. He adopted our statement of the facts and incorporated it right into the decision. Okay. But when that happens, and you're an attorney, whether you're the prosecutor or the defense attorney, and the court adopts your reasoning and puts it right into the decision, that means the court agrees with everything you said.
Okay.
That's why they adopt your words and put it in.
That's true.
And so much of the dialogue in the decision involves work lifted right from my work.
Okay.
And so that was good. The other thing that's different about this case that is interesting is the judge did not react to the concept of Khalistan in a negative way.
Okay, that's good.
In El Paso, where I have had a bunch of other cases, now they're scattered all over the United States, but in El Paso, they wanted to try to get to the point where anybody who was active in the Mon Party should be considered a terrorist or a supporter of terrorism. Because in the when you apply for asylum, when you come into the country like that and you surrender yourself, you get what's called a credible fear interview, usually within 24 to 48 hours of your arrest. And the credible fear interview, an asylum officer interviews the person in their own language and makes a determination whether, if the facts that the person is stating were to be believed, would he have a credible fear of persecution. He doesn't make a decision or anything like that. He just says, well, if this is all true, it could be persecution. But there's a little box in the credible fear interview about terrorism, and they always checked it if the person had been active in the Mon Party.
Okay.
And so in El Paso, you have to overcome that. Now, with this judge, he reacted properly.
Okay.
He saw that the idea of Khalistan was attached to the political party, and that it was the goal of the political party to establish a new state called Khalistan.
Okay.
But that's all. He just said, well, you're one of many political parties in India. He didn't put the taint of terrorism to it at all. He didn't even raise the question at all. Okay. And so that was a big deal, because my client's belief and religious and political leanings are for the absolute establishment of Khalistan. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a country where you can believe things.
That's
and
true.
You don't, and you can believe what you want.
That's true. And plus we can freely practice our religion as well over here, whereas versus like in India, we can't. That's the reason we are asking for Khalistan at the first place, So, Mr. John, really, we are really, really thankful that you took your time off to talk to our viewers and you explained us about this case. There's so many questions that I have in my mind, but the time is very limited. So for today, this is enough, I guess. You can give us the background about this case and the facts and examples and everything. So thank you so much for your time and congratulations. I mean, you made it possible. This case was very impossible, but you made it possible. So thank you so much. And I know you're working on other Sikh asylum cases too. So I hope in the future that we will talk to you again about other cases as well. But
I'll be glad to. The cases, particularly for the cases in El Paso, are extremely interesting. Very interesting.
In the future, we will talk to you about those cases as well in detail. So thank you so much for your time today. Good night. You have a great day.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. So viewers, वक्त हो गया एक छोटे से ब्रेक का. ब्रेक दोबारा से मिस्टर सिंह ना भी गलबात करांगे. तो साना तुसी इसी तरह बने रहो.